Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry about that. Again, welcome to JT MVP Think JT. That's right. Better than ever. Subscribe to my channel. The Darkness Awakens. So I want y'all to check out my live streams and my videos. Let's get them likes and them views up. Be very much appreciated. Hit the bell when y'all want to hear that powerful live stream or video. I'm going to go down my resources. Then I got a goodie for y'all this morning. Breakfast with JT Fam, part 2. But let me get this out the way. Check if you want to know more. Send me a comment. Go to my Facebook page, Jerry Thomas. Also go to my Facebook group, all in caps, JT MVP. Thinking for ourselves. Also have a Twitter account, all in caps, at JT Blackman44. And last, my Instagram account, on lowercase, JT Blackstar. I got a goodie for y'all. And a lot of us don't talk about this person, but y'all probably heard about this person before, but y'all ain't heard from him in a long time. Now I'm talking about the late great Paul Robeson. That's right, the late great Paul Robeson. All right, here we go. Here we go. Now I'm going to drop my line here because this is one of my heroes. Welcome to Breakfast with JT Fam and some of our great history part 2. Part 2, and I'm going to come with another, come with a back, man. I'm going to come with another one in a few hours. But here we go. Paul Leroy Robeson, born April 9th, 1898. He died January 23rd in Philadelphia, 1976. Was an American bass, baritone singer and actor who became involved with the civil rights movement at Rutgers College. He was an American football player and then had an international career in singing, as well acted in theater and movie. He became politically involved in the response to the Spanish Civil War, fascism, and other social injustices. Now, I'm gonna stop right there. Yeah, hit the like button. Now, I want to say this. Now, this is during the time the United States, the CIA, they called this the red list. Now, the red list was talking about communists and stuff. So anybody that talked against the racist policies of America, he was on the list. Lena Horne's on the list and everything. I need to drop that. It's the red list. They call the communists. J.K. Hoover made it up and everything. So I want you to do more digging on that. But he was part of that list. I need to say that. And social injustices. His advocating for anti-imperialism, affiliated with communism, and criticism of the United States government caused him to be blacklisted during McCarthy era, and McCarthy was co-headed with when I'm talking about the red list, the communists and stuff. He the one help bring it out too. McCarthy era. Now McCarthy also was head of the World War, I think back in the Korean War, and then he did a lot during trying to get the trying to get us out of service, stuff, told we was inferior, stuff like that, but dropped that as too. McCarty was no good. In 1915, Robeson won an Academy Scholar to Rutgers College, where he was twice named Consensus All-American, was a class valedictorian. Excuse me. Although 8 years later he was inducted into College Football Hall of Fame, he received his LLB from Columbia Law School while playing the National Football League. That's better known as NFL. That they at that time they didn't have that many black players back then too. At Columbia, he sang and acted at off-campus productions. After graduating, he became a figure of the Harlem Renaissance with performance of the Emperor Jones and Al God Chillon Got Wings. Between 1925 and 1961, Robinson recorded and released some of 200. Check this out, family. Let me read it again. Between 1925 and 1961, Robinson recorded and released some of 276 distant songs, many of which recorded several times. The first of these was Spiritual Steal Away, back in with Were You There in 1925. Robinson recorded repertoire spanning many styles, including Americana, popular, standard, classic music, European folk songs, political songs, poetry, and spoke acceptance from his day. And most of the songs Robinson wrote. Got to put that in. Robinson political did not prevent him from singing of some songs which subsequently considered to have racist language sentiment, as the Little Peony Going to Sleep, 1928, and All Folks Home, 1930. Robinson first appeared outside the United States in 1928 at the London premiere of Showboat. Yeah, I heard of that. Selling in London for several years with his wife, Essie. Robinson appeared as Othello in London before gaining international renown as an actor in Showboat and Sanders of the River. He became increasingly attuned to the sufferings of other cultures. He advocated for Republican force during the Spanish Civil War. He became active in the Council of African Affairs, with parentheses CAA. During World War II, he supported America was effort. However, the history of supporting pro-Soviet policies brought scrutiny from the FBI. As the war ended, the CAA placed on the Attorney General list a submissive organization, and Robinson was investigated during the age of McCarthyism. Like I said, that was like during the time when J.K. Hoover with McCartney developed the red list. That's the communists and stuff. That was during the time, and the list, they had that list on for a long time too. I believe back in the mid-40s, going almost towards the 60s. During World War II, he supported American war. He supported American war efforts. However, his history of supporting pro-Soviet policies brought scrutiny for the FBI. At the end of the war, okay, what was the best game? I'm sorry. Due to his decision not to recant his public advocacy of pro-Soviet policy, he was denied a passport by the State Department. Excuse me, and his income consequently plummeted. He moved to Harlem and published a periodically critical of the United States policy. His rights to travel was eventually restored by 1958 in 19 between Supreme Court decision Kent versus Dulles. You look that up, fam. That was a very intense case. In the early 1960s, he retired and lived to remain years of his life privately in Philadelphia. So this man was no joke. This man was poor. Leroy Roberson was born in Princeton, New Jersey in 1898 to Reverend William Drew Roberson and Marie Louisa Bastille. His mother was a prominent Quaker family and mixed ancestry African, Anglo-American, and Lippe. His father, William, was born into slavery, escaped from the plantation in his teens, and eventually became a minister of Princeton Witherspoon's Street Presbyterian Church in 1881. Robeson had three brothers: William Drew Jr., born 1881, Reeves, born 1887, and Ben, born 1893, and one sister, Marion, born 1895. In 1900, in a disagreement, William and white finance supporters of Witherspoon arose and appeared a racial overtone which prevailed in Princeton. William had the support of the entire family congregation to resign in 1901. The loss of his position forced him to work mental jobs. 3 years later, when Robeson was 6, his mother was nearly blind, died in a house fire. Eventually, William became financially incapable of providing a house for himself and his children, still live at home. Ben and Paul then moved to the attic in the store of Westfield, New Jersey. Wow. William found a stable parsonage at the St. Thomas AME Zion in 1910, where Robeson would fill his father during the sermons when he was called away. In 1912, Robeson attended Somerville High School in Somerville, New Jersey. I know somebody in Somerville, New Jersey. Come find out. When he performed in Julius Caesar and Othello, sang the chorus to excel in basketball. He excelled in basketball, football, baseball, and track. Now I'm gonna stop right there. When Jackie Robinson went to UCLA, he also excelled in those sports, and plus he was a class Victorian too. Jackie Robinson, look him up too. Need to drop that in. His athletic dominance elected Rachel Taunts. And during prior to his graduation, he won a statewide academic contest for a scholarship to Rutgers. He took a summer job and waited at Lancaster Pier, Rhode Island, when he befriended Fritz Pollard, later to be his first African-American coach in the national. Check it out. Listen to this, family. Where he befriended Fritz Pollard, later to be a first African-American coach in the National Football League. Now, we never hear the NFL talk about that. Never, never. Right here, proof. In late 1915, Robeson became the third African-American student ever enrolled at Rutgers, the only one at the time. He tried out for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights football team, and his resolve to make squad was tested. His teammates engaged. Squad was tested of his teammates engaged in excessive play. During his nose was broken and his shoulder dislocated. The coach forced the Sanford to decide that he had to overcome provocation and announced that he made the team. Robeson joined the debating team and sang on campus for spending money, and on campus with the Glee Club, informally as member required attending all white mixes. He also joined other collegiate athletic teams. As a sophomore, Amiss Ruckus subsequently celebrated when he was benched when the Southern team refused to take the field because the Scarlet Knights had a field Negro Roberson. As a standout junior in football, he was recognized the crisis for his athletics, academic, and singing talents. At the time his father fell gravely ill, Roberson took a sole responsibility to care for him, shelterly between Ruckus and Somerville. His father was the glory of his boyhood years. Soon died at Ruckus. Roberson expounded the engrossed of African American fight to protect America World War I, but continued tirelessly, being without the same opportunities in the white state of whites. He finished university for 4 annual orientational trumps and varsity letters in multiple sports. He played in won his first team All-American selection in both junior and senior years. Walter Cat considered him the greatest in ever. Academically, he was accepted to Phi Beta Kappa and Skull. His classmates recognized him by electing him class validation. The Daily Telegram published a poem featuring his achievements. In his valedictory speech, he extolled his classmates to work for equality for all Americans. Columbia Law School and Marriage, 1919-1923. Columbia Law School and Marriages. Roberson entered New York University School in Law in fall of 1919. To support himself, he became the assistant coach at Lincoln. Wow. When he joined the Alpha fraternity. However, Roberson felt uncomfortably at NYU and moved to Harlem to transfer to Columbia Law in February 1920, already known in black community for his singing. He selected to perform the dedication of the Harlem YWCA. Roberson began to date and slander Essie Goody, as his wife became B. And after her coaching, he gave his theatrical debut as Simon at Wrigley, Thomas Simon and Simon. After a year of courtship, they married in August 1921. Roberson was recruited by Pollard to play the NFL Outcome Pros. Outcome, that's in Ohio. That is the same town that Ohio. Outcome Pros. Yeah, that is the same town. That's the same town that LeBron James was born and raised. Also, they have a college team in Akron too. Need to throw that in. Yep. Same town, born and raised, LeBron James. While he continued his law studies. In the spring, Roberson postponed school, portrayed Jim and Mary Hoyt. Wildborg played Taboo. He then sang a chorus in a off-Broadway production of Shuffle Along before he joined Taboo in Britain. The play was adopted by Miss Patrick Campbell to highlight his singing. After the play ended, he befriended Lawrence Brown, a classical training musician, before returning to Columbia while playing for the NFL Milwaukee Badgers. Now, why does Milwaukee Badgers sound familiar? In Wisconsin, there's a college team named Wisconsin Badgers. You need to throw that in. Yeah, there's a college team named Wisconsin Badgers, I believe. You can't quote me that, but he ended his football career after 1922, and months later he graduated from law school. 1923, 1927. These are started the golden years of the Harlem Renaissance. Robeson worked briefly as a lawyer, but he renounced a career of law due to his erratic racism. Essie, his wife, financially support him, and then periodically the social function at the future Slumber Theater. That's in Harlem, one of the famous ones. In December 1924, he landed a lead role of Jim in Eugene O'Neill's Old Guard Charlie Got Wings, which culminated with Jim metaphorically consummating his marriage with his white wife by symbolically emasculating himself. Charlie Open was postponed due to nationwide controversy over its pilot. Charlie delayed to revival of The Emperor. Jones with Robeson as brothers, a role pioneered by Charles Sidney Gilpin. The role terrified and galvanized Robeson as a practical 90-minute soliloquy. Review declared as unequivocal success. Though arguably clouded by its controversial subject, his Jim and Charlie was less well received. He deflected criticism of his pilot by writing that fate had drawn him to untrodden paths of drama, and the truest measure of the culture is in the artistic contributions, and only true African culture was African American. The success of his acting placed him in elite social circles, and his ascension to fame, which was falsely aided by Essie, again his wife, had occurred at a startling pace. Essie's ambition for Robeson was starting disclosing to his indifferences. She quit her job and became his agent and negotiated his first movie role in a silent race film directed by Oscar Mitchell, Body and Soul. Now I'm gonna stop right there. If y'all remember, almost 2 weeks ago, I did a story of Oscar Mitchell. He's the first African American filmmaker and director. He did silent films, and he did silent films, and he did sound films. And one of the silent films he did was Body and Soul. That Paul Robeson was starting. So check that out. It's on my channel. Check it out. Oscar Mitchell. To support a charity for single mothers, he headlined a concert singing spiritual. He performed his repertoire spiritual on the radio. Lawrence Brown, who had become renowned while touring as piano with gospel singer Roland Hayes, stumbled upon Robeson in Harlem. The two ad-libbed a set of spiritual with Robeson lead as Brown as a accompanist. So this is so enthralled them that they booked Princeton Playhouse for concert. The pair rekindle of African American folk songs and spiritual was captivating, and Victor Records signed Robeson a contract. Victor Records was one of the earlier little record companies that signed our people. Let's throw that in there. The Robesons went to London to revive Jones before spending the rest of the fall of holiday on the French Riviera, socializing with Gertrude Stein and Claude McKay. Robeson and Brown performed a series of concerts toured in America from January 1926 until May 1927. During his hiatus in New York, Robeson learned that Essie was several months pregnant. Paul Robeson Jr. was born in 1927 in New York, while Robeson Brown toured Europe. Paul Robeson Jr. died not too long ago. You can look him up too. Yeah, he died not too long ago. While Robeson Brown toured Europe, Essie experienced complications from birth. In mid-December, her health had deteriorated dramatically. Ignored Essie's objections. Her mother wired Robeson, and he immediately returned to her bedside. Essie completely recovered after a few months. All right, 1928 through 1932, Showboat, Othello, and Marriage Difficulties. In 1928, Robeson played Joe in the London production of the American musical Showboat at the Theatre Royal. Drew Lane, his rekindle of Old Man River, you throw that in, became benchmark for all future performers of the song. Some black critics was not pleased with the play due to its usage of the word nigger. It was nonetheless immensely popular with white audience. He was summoned for a Royal Command performance at Buckingham Palace, and Robeson was befriended by MP from the House of Commons. Showboat continued for 350 performances, and as of 2001, it remains the royal most profitable venture. Robeson bought a home in Hempstead. That's in Long Island. He reflected on his life and his diary and wrote that it was part of his higher plan, and God watched over me and guided me. He with me let me fly my own battles and hope I'll win. However, an incident at the Savard Grill in which he was refused seating sparked him to issue a press release. He described the insult. Subsequently, it became a matter of public debate. Essie had learned early in their marriage that Robeson has been involved in extramarital affairs, but she tolerated them. Wow. However, when she discovered that he was having another affair, she's unfavorable altered the characterization of him in his autobiography and to frame him by describing him negative racial stereotype. Wow. Despite her uncover of his turfs, there was no public evidence that their relationship had soured. In early 1930, they both appeared at experimental Swiss film Borderline, and Robeson returned to the Savard Theatre in London, West End, to play the lead Shakespeare Othello, opposing Peggy Ashcroft as Desdemona. Wow. Robeson was first black actor to play Othello in Britain since Ira Aldridge. Very underrated, very underrated. The production received mixed reviews, which noted Robeson highly civilized quality but lacked the grand style. Robeson stated the best way to diminish the oppression African American face was to his artistic work to be an example of what man of my color could accomplish, rather to be a propagandist and make speech and write articles about what they call question. what they call a question. After Essie discovered Rosa has been having an affair with Ashcroft, wow, she decided to seek a divorce, and they split up. Rosa returned to Broadway as Jo in the 1932 revival of Showboat to be critical and popular acclaimed. Subsequently, he received immensely proud and honorable master degree from Rutgers, thereby his former football Foster Sanford advised him to divorce Essie and marry Esther would do irreparable damage to his reputation. Ashcroft and Rosen relationship ended in 1932, followed which Rosen and Essie recirculated their reconcile, although their relationship was permanently scarred. Now we're gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna check out the chat. I'm gonna keep on going because a whole lot more is coming by of this man Paul Robeson. So I'm gonna do my shout outs and we're going to keep this going. Shout out to Doug. Subscribe, like to his channel. Sheenan, thanks for coming. Welcome. My sister Soul Academy, thanks for coming. Chief Stay Sleep, as always, my brother, thanks for coming. Any more people? I want y'all to share this. I want you to share this, please. That'd be great, great, much appreciated. And now, I ain't going to keep on going. Now, 1933, and thanks for coming, family. Thanks for coming. Great, very much appreciated. In a few hours, I'm gonna come with another one. Now we up to 1933, 1937, Ideological Awakening. Let me take a bite of my sandwich. I'm having breakfast with JT Fam and some Great History Part 2. Again, thank you so much for coming. Very much appreciate. Again, we up to 1933 to 1937, Ideological Awakening. In 1933, Robeson played the role of Jim in the London production of Chiller, Virtually Great. Then returned to the United States star as Brutus in the film of the Emperor Jones, not repeat more than 2 decades in the U.S. His acting in Jones, the first film to feature an African American in a starring role, was well received. On the film, he rejected any slight of his dignity, despite the widespread Jim Crow atmosphere in the United States. Upon returning to England, publicly criticized African American rejection of their own culture. Despite negatively reactions from the press, such as New York Amsterdam News restored that Robeson had made a jolly well ass of himself, that's in parentheses, also announced that he would reject any offers to perform European operas because the music has no connection to his heritage. Wow. In early 1934, Robeson enrolled in the School of the Orient in African Studies in London, where he studied some 20 African dialects. His sudden interest of African history and his impact on culture concealed of his essay, I Want to Be African, wherein he wrote his desire to embrace his ancestry. So after all that, what he trying to do for our thing, our own people bring him down. Look, the paper, the Amsterdam, bring him down. No support. And he would have to go through this for years. Only time they respected him when he passed, when he was dying, like from 74, 75, and he passed away in 76. Our own people do us in, family. Our own people do us in. He undertook the role of Possible in the movie Sanders of the River, which he felt will render his realistic view of colonialism African culture. His friends in the anti-imperialism movement and the association with British socialists led him to visit Soviet Union. Robeson, Essie, and Marie Seton traveled to the Soviet Union on an invitation from Sirs Eisenstein in December 1934. A stopover in Berlin enlightened Robeson to the racism in Nazi Germany. Now, why 1934 is very prevalent? Because racism was very big back then, and 2 years before that, the 1932, that's when in Germany, that's when Jesse Owens shocked the world, would all go, and the great Jesse Owens and the late great Jesse Owens and the late great Eric McCabe that I did a story on him too. He also did silver and stuff like that. Later on, he became, after 30 years, he became Congress. He was the co-founder of the Black Caucus and stuff. And you throw that into. On his arrival in Moscow in the Soviet Union, Robeson said, "Here I am, not a Negro, but a human being." Now I'm gonna stop right there. Now, when I came for my when I developed my second hashtag of humanity, I was thinking about Paul Robeson. I need to throw that. That's one of the people, one of the Jews in our community I thought about when I discovered that. When I had that second hashtag. Here I am, I'm not a Negro, but a human being. For the first time in my life, I walk in full human dignity. Waldemar Hill was subsequently went to do the arrangement on the People song Bulletin, got his start in early tourist pianist for Robeson. Sanders of the River released in 1935 made Robeson an international movie star, but the stereotypical portrait of a colonial African was seen as an ambassador to his stature and his artist, and damaging to his reputation. The Commissioner of Nigeria to London protested the film was as slanderous to his country. Robeson thereafter became more politically conscious of his role. He appeared to play Steve Dorr at the Embassy Theatre in London in May 1935, which was favorably reviewed in The Crisis of Nancy Kernow, which concludes Steve Dorr is extremely valued in the racial social question. Is it straight from the shoulder? In 1936, he decided to send his son to school in the Soviet Union to shield him from racist attitudes. He then played the role of Toussaint Louverture in the enormous play of C.L.R. James at the Westminster Theater, and appeared in the film Songs of Freedom, Showboat, Big Fella, My Son Goes Forth, and King Solomon Mines. In 1930, he was named by Motion Picture Herald as the 10th most popular star in British cinema. That was big back then. 1937 through 1939, Spanish Civil War and political activism. Robeson believed that the struggle against fascists during the Spanish Civil War was a turning point for his life and transferred him into political activist. In 1937, he used his concert performance to advocate Republican cause and the war refugee. He permanently modified his renditions of Old Man River from a tragic song of resignation from a hit of protest implied into a battle hymns of unwavered defiance. His business agent expressed concern of his political involvement, but Robeson overruled him and decided that contemporary events trump commercialism. That was big. In Wales, he committed the Welsh kill while fighting for the Republicans, where he recorded a message will become his epic. The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or slavery. I made my choice. I had no alternates. That's right. And we should be like that. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to keep it going. We should make a choice. Are we going to turn our head, or are we going to fight for our freedom? Or are we going to fight for our humanity as people of melanin people? Just as the late great Paul Robeson did. That's something to think about. It goes for me too. After that, after an invitation from JBS Haldane, he traveled to Spain in 1938 because he believed in the International Bridges Corps visit at the hospital and the bestseller signed to the wounded soldiers. Also visit the battlefront provides morally boosted to the Republican at a time while their victory was unlike. Back in England, he hosted Jawaharlal Nehru to support Indian independence, whereas Nehru expounded on the imperialism affiliated with fascism. Robeson reevaluated direction of his career and decided to focus on the ordeals of common people. He appeared in the pro-labor play Plants in the Sun, which he played an Irishman, his first white role. With Max Yagan and the CAA, Robeson became an advocate for aspirations of African colonialism for political independence. So he was spearheaded for Africa to have their own nations. And that was big back then because 20 minutes later, they took on his spirit and his presence, and they started fighting for their own independence against colonialism. And that's within the white supremacists, the mindset of the white supremacists and symbols. And the laws and the legislation. We throw that in. Robeson also developed a sympathy for China's side in the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1940. The Chinese progressive activist Liu Guillemot taught Robeson the patriotic song "Chila Arise," that's in parentheses, known as the March of the Volunteers. Robeson memorized the words in Chinese. That is impressive. And Robeson could speak many languages too. We need to throw that in. Robeson premiered the song of the Lost concert in the New York City Lewis Stadium as a recording in both English and Chinese for Keynote Records early 1941. And the 3-disc album includes booklet, which per face was written by Sun Qingling, the widow of Sun Yat-sen. Robeson gave further performance and benefits for the Chinese Aid Council and United Chinese relief at the sold out concert at Washington Uline Arena. And on April 24th, 1941, the Washington Committee for Aid to China has booked Constitution Hall, but been blocked by the Daughters of American Revolutionary owned to Robeson race. Man, the indignation was great enough that President Roosevelt, wife Elena, and Hashim, the Chinese ambassador, joined us as sponsors. However, when the organizer offered tickets to generous terms to the National Negro Congress to help to fill the larger venue, these sponsors withdrew in adjusting object to the NNC's communist ties party because the favorite international reputation Robeson gave to the song, and it became China's national anthem after 1949. The Chinese lyricist died in Beijing prison in 1968, but Robeson continued to send royalties to his family. That was big. 1939 through 1945, World War II and the Broadway of Thought. Let's get this going, family. It's getting good. Robeson's last British film was The Proud Valley, released 1940, set in a Welsh common town. After the outbreak of World War II, Robeson returned to the United States and became America's #1 entertainer with a radio broadcast of ballads for Americans. Nevertheless, hold on, family, hold on. Nevertheless, during the Sun tour, the Beverly Woodside Hotel was the only hotel willing to accommodate him due to his race, providing he registered under assuming name and therefore dedicated 2 hours every afternoon sitting in the lobby to ensure the next time Black come through, they have a place to stay. Furthermore, native land was labeled by the FBI as communist propaganda. Like I said, the red list, communists, like I said before, early in the hangout. At the appearance of Tears of Manhattan, a product that felt was very offensive to my people. He announced that he would no longer act in films because of his demanding roles available to blacks. So it was scary. It was scary back then. It really was. Actors and actresses. It was a hard time. But some of us as a people, we stood up, won great roles. And it was still continuing even decades later, even to right now, family. So it was not just Paul Robeson, it was the late great Delta Reese. It was the late great Lena Horne. It was even a great poet in our community, the late great James Baldwin. They all were talking about this. Matter of fact, the people that's mentioned, they were part of that list. Okay, family, they were part of the list. Robeson participated in benefits concert on the behalf of the war effort and at a concert at the Polo Grounds. Now, the Polo Grounds located in Manhattan, New York, part of Harlem. That's like towards the end of Harlem, going to Washington Heights, and that's when the New York Giants played, and then in '58 they moved to San Francisco. That's where the great Willie Mays played. The Polo Grounds. That's what I'm talking about. Now it's projects now. And they've been there like about 50 years, but the Polo Grounds, yeah. That, like I said before, that's where the New York Giants played at back in those days. He met two emissaries from the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, Solomon McColl's and Isaac Pfeffer. Subsequently, Robeson reprised his role of Othello at the Schubert Theater in 1943 and became the first African-American play the role with a white supporting cast on Broadway. That was very, very big and unheard of those days. During the same period of time, he addressed the meeting with Kershaw Mountain Landis in a fair attempt to convince him to admit black players in the major leagues. He toured North America with Othello until 1945, and subsequently his political efforts with the CAA got colonial power to discontinue the exploitation of Africa was short-circuited by the United Nations. Man, they was on it too. Wow. 1946 to 1949. Again, 1946 through 1949, Attorney General list of submissive organizations. After the mass lynching of 4 African Americans on July 25th, 1946, Robeson met with President Truman and abolishing Truman by standing that if he would not enact legislation to end lynching, the Negroes will defend themselves. Now, at that time, he's one of the early ones who help want us to defend ourselves. Truman immediately terminated the meeting and declared that the time was not right to propose anti-lynching legislation. President Truman back then, in the 40s, he was a racist motherfucker. He was continuing the lynching and stuff like that. These people back then, something else, continue. Subsequently, Robeson publicly called upon all Americans to demand that Congress pass a civil rights legislation. Taking a stance against lynching, Robeson founded the American Crusader Against Lynching organization in 1946. This organization was thought to be threatening to the NAACP anti-violence movement. Robeson received support from the late great W.E.B. Du Bois regarding his matter and officially launched this organization on the anniversary day of Emancipation Proclamation, September 23rd. About this time, Robeson believed that trade unionism was crucial to civil rights, became a mainstay of his political beliefs as he became a proponent of the union activist with Reverend Clayton. Robeson later called before the Tenant Committee when he was responding questions about his affiliation of the Communist Party USA, CPU SA, by testifying that he was not a member of the same organization. Nevertheless, two organizations which Robeson automatically involved, the Civil Rights Congress and the CIA, was placed on Attorney General submissive organization. Let's in parentheses AGLOSO. Subsequently, he was summoned before the United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary. When he questioned about his affiliation with the Communist Party, he refused to answer. States some of the most brilliant why don't I scratch this word out? Distinguished Americans are about to go to jail for the failure to answer these questions, and I am going to join them if necessary. Yeah. Stick up for our people. That's right. For our liberation. For our humanity. Very important. You can learn that. In 1940, was prominent in Henry S. Wilde's bid for the President of the United States, during which Robeson traveled the Deep South at risk of his own life to campaign for him. In the ensuing years, Robeson was forced to go overseas to work because of his concert performances were canceled at the FBI behest. While on tour, he spoke at the World Peace Council, in which his speech was publicly reported as equating America with a fascist state. The depletion, which he flatly denied. Nevertheless, the speech publicly attributed him was a catalyst for his becoming an enemy of mainstream America. Robeson refused to bow to public criticism when he advocated in favor of 12 defiants, including his longtime friend Benjamin J. Davis Jr. Now, why Benjamin Davis J. Jr. is he's one of the generals of the Tuskegee Airmen. Benjamin Davis, look him up. Benjamin Davis. I think that's him. No, it's Benjamin O. Davis. No, I'm sorry. He's different Benjamin. That's Benjamin O. Davis. I'm sorry, family. Charged during the Smith Act trials of Communist Party leaders. You have to be kidding me. Get that off. Okay. Robeson traveled to Moscow in June, was unable to find Isaac Pfeffer. He let Soviet authorities know that he wanted to see him. Really likely to lose Robeson as a propagandist for the Soviet Union. The Soviet brought Pfeffer from prison to him. Pfeffer told him that Miklos has been murdered and he will be summarily executed. And this is the same Soviet Union that violated our civil rights, our elections. The same Soviet Union right now. That's right. Get them out, fella. That's why she says, yeah, get Wiener boy out. Wiener sausage McMuffin little boy. Get him out of there. To protect the Soviet Union reputation and to keep the right wing of the United States from gaining the moral high ground, Robeson denied that any persecution exists in the Soviet Union and kept meeting secrets from the rest of his life, except from his son. On June 20th, 1949, Robeson spoke at the Paris Peace Congress saying, "We in America, we do not forget it was on the backs of white workers from Europe and on the backs of millions of blacks that the wealth of America was built, and we are resolved to share it equally. We reject any historical ravens that urge us to make war on anyone. Our will to fight for peace is strong. We shall not make war on anyone. We shall not make war on the Soviet Union. We oppose those who wish to build up imperialism. Germany and to establish fascism in Greece. We wish peace from Franco Spain, despite her faces. We shall support peace and friendship among all nations with Soviet Russia and the People Republic. He was blacklisted for saying this. The mainstream press of the United States, including many periodically of the legal press, such as The Crisis. In order to isolate Robeson politically, the House of Un-American Activity Committee, parentheses HUAC, subpoenaed Jackie Robinson to comment on Robeson's Paris speech. Robinson testifies that Robeson, if accurate report, was silly. Days later, the announcer concert headlined by Robeson in New York City provoked the local press to decry of the use of their community to support submissive after Peekskill riots. In short, Peekskill is like further up New York. Peekskill is part of Westchester County in New York, going towards upstate. That's what Peekskill is in Westchester County, New York. All right, that's the little above from the Bronx. 1950, 1955 blacklist. This is what I'm talking about, the communists. That's what I'm talking about, the communists, the list they were talking about. Another word they call blacklist, but they call it the red list too. Okay. A book reveal of early 1950s, the most complete record in college football, failed to list Robeson as ever having played on the Rutgers team. Yeah, they good doing that. And as ever having been All-American. Months later, NBC canceled Robeson's appearance at Atlanta Roosevelt television program. Subsequently, the State Department denied Robeson a passport to travel aboard to issue a stop notice at all ports because it believes there was an isolation existence inside the United States border that would not afford him less freedom of expression, or also advantage of his extreme advocacy on behalf of the independent of colonialism people of Africa. However, when Robeson met with State Department official asking why he was denied passport, excuse me, was told that his frequent criticism of the treatment of blacks in the United States should not be aired in foreign countries. Wow. In 1951, the article titled Paul Robeson, The Lost Shepherd, was published in The Crisis. Although Paul Jr. suspectedly was authored by Amsterdam News columnist Earl Brown, J. A. Hoover. Now, J. A. Hoover again was the head of CIA for over 30 years. He that no good passed away in 1969. He the one had illegal search, illegal taps on Malcolm X, illegal taps, Martin Luther King, and others. J. Hoover was head, like I said, J. Hoover was head of CIA back for over 30 years. And the United States State Department arranged for the article to be printed and the distribution in Africa in order to defray Robeson's reputation and reduce his communist population in colonial countries. Another article by Roy Wilkins, now thought to have been real author of Paul Robeson, The Lost Shepherd, denouncing Robeson as well as the Communist Party, USA, in terms consistent with the anti-communist FBI propaganda. On December 1951, Robeson presented the United States an anti-lynching petition. We charge genocide. Petition. We charge genocide. The documents assert that the United States federal government, by its failure to act against lynching in the United States was guilty of genocide under Articles 2 of the U.S. Genocide Convention. In 1952, Rosen awarded the International Stalin Prize by the Soviet Union. Unable to travel to Moscow, he accepted the award in New York. In April 1953, shortly after Stalin's death, Rosen penned "To You, My Love, Comrade," praising Stalin as dedicated to peace and a guide to the world. Thought his deep humanity by his wise understanding was leave us rich and monumental heritage. Rosen's opinion on the Soviet Union kept his passport out of reach by shopping his return in entertainment industry and the civil rights movement. In his opinion, the Soviet Union was a guarantor of political balance in the world. In a symbolic act defiance against traveling bans, labor unions, and the United States, Canada organized a concept at the International Peace Arch on the border between Washington State and the Canadian province of British Columbia. Robeson returned to perform a second concert at the Robeson returned for a second. Yeah, okay. And over the next 2 years, 2 further concerts were scheduled. In this period, the encouragement of his friend, the Welsh politician Aaron Bevan, Robeson recorded a number of radio concerts for support in Wales. All right. Ooh, okay. 1956 through 1957, the end of McCarthyism. In 1956, Robeson called before. Hold on, fam. Hold on. Let me get this going. This is good, fam. I'm telling you, Paul Robeson, he did a lot. I'm telling you, he had his hands in everything, family. He sure did. I'm telling you. I knew he did a lot besides Harlan, but very, very intriguing man. Very intriguing man. Very intriguing man. Let me say that again. 1956 to 1957, the end of McCarthyism. In 1956, Robeson was called before HUAC after he refused to sign an affidavit affirming that he was not a communist. In his testimony, he invoked the Fifth Amendment and refused to reveal his political affiliations. When asked why he's not renamed in the Soviet Union because of his infinity with its political ideology, he replied, "Because my father was a slave, and my people died to build the United States, and I am going to stay here. And I have a part of it just as you. And no faces-minded people would drive me away from it." That was a constant fight, even 25, 30 years before when he said that too. When he made his passing in 76. And I want to throw this in before I continue. And that's when we really respect him. At that hearing, Robeson stated, "Wherever I am, I'm not a communist," is irrelevant. The question is, wherever American citizens, regardless of their political beliefs or sympathies, may enjoy their constitutional right. Robeson passport was subsequently revoked. This USA. Campaigning was launched to protest the passport ban and the restriction of his right to travel over the next 4 years, but it was not availed. In 1957, unable to accept invitation to perform aboard, Paul Robeson sang for Audience London, where 1,000 concert tickets for his telephone concert at St. Patrick's Town Hall sold out within an hour, and Wales via the transatlantic telephone cable. We have to learn telephone cable. We have to learn the hard way. That is another way to sing. In 1956, in United Kingdom, Topping Records at that time at the Workers' Museum Associate released a single Robeson singer, Joe Hill, written by Fredo Hayes and Earl Robson, back with John Brown body. Joe Hill. He born 1879, died 1915. Was a labor activist in the early 20th century, and Joe Hill's song by Robeson is the third most selection by on the BBC radio programming Desert Islanders among British Labour Party politicians, and at the top 14 most popular selections for all British politicians. Nikolai Khrushchev, denouncing of Stalinism at the 1956 Party Congress, silenced Robeson on Stalin, thought Robeson continued to praise the Soviet Union. In 1956, after public pressure brought one-time exemption to the travel ban, Robeson performed concerts in Canada in March. That year, Robeson, with close friends W.E.B. Du Bois, comparing the anti-Soviet uprising Hungary at the same sort of people which overdrew the Spanish Republican government and supports the Soviet Union invasion and suppressing the revolt. And appearing to the Supreme Court, the United States has resume of his confiscated passport has been rejected, but over the telephone, Robeson was able to sing to 5,000 gathered, and he had early in the year to London. Due to his reaction promulgation of Robeson political views, his recordings and films was removed from public distribution, and he was universally condemned in the U.S. press during the heights of the Cold War, and became increasingly difficult in the United States to hear Robeson sing commercial records, to buy his music, or see his films. Late 1958 to 1960 comeback tour. In 1958 saw the publication of Robeson Manifesto autobiography, Here I Stand. His passport was restored in June 1958, King versus Dawes, I said it before, which he embarked on the world tour of London as his base. In Moscow, in August 1959, he received Toronto's reception at the Lenin Stadium, where he sang classical Russian songs along with American standards. Robeson and Essie flew to Yalta to rest and spend time with Nikolai Khrushchev. On October 11, 1959, Robeson took a part of serving St. Paul Cathedral, where the first black man performed the same there. On the trip of Moscow, Robeson experienced bouts of dizziness and heart problems, was hospitalized for 2 months, while Essie was diagnosed with operable cancer. He recovered and returned to the UK visit National Intifada. Meanwhile, the State Department has circulated negative literature about him throughout the media and in India. During his run at the Royal Shakespeare Company play Othello in Tony Richardson 1959 production at Stratford-upon-Avon, he befriended actor Andrew Ford, whose family hosts him in the nearby village of Chartery. In 1960, in what would prove to be his final concert performance in Great Britain, Robeson sang to raise money for the movement of colonialism and freedom at the Royal Festival Hall. In 1960, Robeson embarked on a 2-month concert tour of Austria and New Zealand with SE primarily to generate money. At his behest of Austrian political Bill Morrow, while in Sydney, he became the first major artist to perform at the construction site of the future Sydney Opera House. After the appearance at the Brisbane Festival Hall, which they went to Auckland, Robeson reframed his report of Marxism, denouncing inequalities facing by the mayor and efforts from degrading their culture. Thereby, Robeson publicly states the people of the land of socialism want peace dearly. During the tour, he was introduced to Faye Brandon, whose interest at the Robeson's flight of Austria Aborigine. Aboriginal. Wow. Robeson consequently became enraged, demanding that the Australian government provide the Aborigines citizen and equality rights. He attacked the view Aborigines was being obfuscated and uncultural and declared, there is no such thing as a backward human being. There is only society which said they are backwards. 1961 through 1963, health breakdown. Back in London, he planned to return to the United States to participate in the civil rights movement, stop off in Africa, China, and Cuba along the way. Essie argued that to stay in London, the fear that he'd be killed if he returned, to be unable to make any money due to harassment of the United States government. Robeson disagrees and makes his own traveling agreement, stopping on Moscow in March 1961. During his uncharacteristically wild party, his Moscow hotel room, he locked himself in his bedroom and attempted suicide by cutting his wrist. 3 days later, under Soviet medical care, he told his son that he felt extremely paranoid, thought that the walls of the room was moving, and overcame powerful sense of emptiness and depression and tried to take his own life. Paul Jr. believed that his father helped problems stem from attempted by CIA M15 to neutralize his father. He remembered that his father had such fear prior to his prostate operations. He said 3 doctors treated Robeson in London and New York has been CIA contractors. Wow. Trying to put the head on. Heard that, family? And that his father's symptoms result of being subject to mind depending under My Ultra, a secret CIA programming. Martin Duhlman claimed that Robeson health breakdown was probably brought by a combination of factors, including extreme emotional and physical stress, bipolar depression, as all of the beginning of the circulating heart problems, even without organic proposition and accommodated pressure of government harassment might be susceptible to a breakdown. These goes show he took a lot. They trying to make a lot. Robeson stayed at the Babgo Surnum, Bava Sadigum until September 1961 when he left for London, where his depression reemerged, and after another period of recuperation in Moscow, he returned to London. 3 days after arriving back, he became suicidal, suffered a panic attack while passing the Soviet ambassador. He was admitted to Priority Hospital where he underwent electroconvulsive therapy, that's ECT, was given hard dose of drugs nearly 2 years with no accompanying psychological therapy. Pharmacotherapy. Wow. During his treatment at the party, Robeson was being monitored by the British M15. Both intelligence service was well aware of Robeson's suicidal mind. The FBI memo described Robeson's debilitated condition, remarking that his death would be much publicized and to be used communist propaganda, necessitating continually surveillance. Numerous memos advised that Robeson should be denied passport renewal, which artistically jeopardized his fragile health and his recovery process. In 1963, disturbed by his treatment, friends had him transferred to the Bush Clinic in East Berlin, given physiotherapy and less medication. His physicians found him still completely without antenna when they expressed doubt of anger about the high levels of barbiturates and ECT has been administered in London. He rapidly improved, though his doctor stressed that with little left for Paul's health, it must be quietly preserved. 1963 through 1976, 13 years, retirement. In 1963, Robeson returned to the United States for the remainder of his life. Seclusion. His monetary assumed as a role of civil rights, making a few public appearances before falling seriously ill during the tour. Double pneumonia and a kidney blockage in 1965 nearly killed him. Robeson was contacted by both Bayard Rustin and James Farmer about possibly becoming involved with the mainstream of civil rights movement. Because of Rustin's past anti-communist stance, Robeson declined to meet with him. Robeson eventually met with Farmer, but because he was asked to denounce communism and the Soviet Union in order to assume a place of mainstream, Robeson amicably declined. After S.E. has been his spokesperson to the media, died in December, in 1965. Robeson moved in with his son's family in New York City. He was rarely seen strolling near his Harlem apartment on the Juma Place, and his son responded to press inquiries that his father's death does not permit him to perform or answer questions. In 1968, he settled at his sister's home in Philadelphia. That's where he passed in 1976. Numerous celebrations was held in honor of Robeson over the next several years, including public arenas that previously shunned him, but he saw a few visits aside from close friends. They gave few statements apart from messages support civil rights and international movement. Feel that his record speaks for itself. At the Carnegie Hall tribute to mark his 75th birthday in 1973. He was unable to attend, but tape message from him was played and say, "Thought I have been able to be active for several years. I want you to know that I am the same Paul, dedicated even to the worldwide cause of humanity for freedom, peace, and brotherhood." Death, funeral, and public response. On January 23rd, 1976, Paul Robeson died in Philadelphia at the age 77. He lay in stable in Harlem, and his funeral was held at his brother's Ben former parsonage, Mother Zion AME Zion Church, where Bishop J. Clinton Hoggard performed the eulogy. His 12 pallbearers, including Harry Belafonte and Fritz Pollard. Well, Fritz Pollard, that was his former NFL coach. Like I said before, he was interred by the French Cliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. According to his biography, Martin Duberman, contemporary post-mortem reflections on Robeson's life. The white American press ignored the continued inevitable of white American to tolerate black men who refused to bend, downplayed the racist component central to his persecution during his life, as they pay him genuinely respect and tip their hat to him as a great American, while Black American press, had never or has been hostile to Robeson as white press had. Open that his life will always be challenged to white and Black Americans. Early in his life, Robeson was one of the most influential participants of the Harlem Renaissance. His achievements in sports and culture was all made incredible given the barriers of racism which he had summoned. Robeson brought Negro spirits into the American mainstream. His theatrical performance has been recognized as first to display dignity for Black actors and pride in African heritage. He was among the first artists to refuse to play in segregated audience. At the McCarthyism, Robeson stand as colonialism in the 1940s would never again have a voice in American politics, but in the African independence movement in the late 50s and 60s will be vindication of his anti-colonialism agenda. Yep. Subsequently, let me read this. Subsequently, in 1945, he received Springer Medal from the NAACP. Several public and private establishments was associated has been landmarked or named after him. His efforts to end apartheid in South Africa was presumptively rewarded in 1978 by the United Nations General Assembly. That's the same nation that didn't respect him like few decades before. General Assembly, Paul Robeson, tribute to an artist, won an Academy Award for his best short documentary in 1980. In 1995, he was named College Football Hall of Fame. About time, should have been there a decade before that. In the centenary of his birth, which he was commemorated around the world. He was awarded a Lifetime Achievement of Grandma Award, as well as a star of the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Hollywood Walk of Fame. Robeson also a member of the American Theater Hall of Fame. As in 2011, the run of film starring Robeson was the longest running production of Shakespeare play ever staged at Broadway. He received a Donaldson Award for his performance. Othello was characteristic by Michael A. Morrison in 2011 was a high point of Shakespearean theater in the 20th century. Robeson left Australia as a respected, avid, controversial figure, and his support for Albanian rights has a profound effect in Austria over the next decade. Robeson's achievements exist at the Academy Arts, Howard University, and Slumber Theater. In 2010, Susan Robeson launched a project of Swansea University at the Welsh Assembly to create an online learning resource at her grandfather's memory. Robeson connected his own life and history not only to his fellow Americans, but to his people in the South, but all the people of Africa, of his diaspora, which lives and been fundamentally shaped by the same process and had brought his ancestors to America. While a consensus defined of his legacy remained controversial, to deny his courage in the face of public and government pressure would be to defame his courage. In 1976, the apartment building Edgecombe Avenue at the Washington Heights section of Manhattan, where Robeson lived during the 1940s, was officially renamed the Paul Robeson Residence and declared a National Historical Landmark. In 1993, the building was designed a New York City landmark as well. Edgecombe Avenue itself was later codenamed Paul Robeson Boulevard. In 1978, TASS announced the Levant Shipping Company has named its the new 400,000-ton tankers Paul Robeson in honor of the singer. TASS said the ship crew was established a Robeson Museum aboard the tanker. In 2002, a blue flag was unveiled by English Heritage on the House of Hempstead. Robeson lived 1929 to 1930. In 2004, the U.S. Postal Service issued a 37-cent honor Paul Robeson. Let me keep on going. In 2007, a Criterion Collection, a company that specialized in releasing special editions versions of classical and contemporary films, released a DVD box set of Robeson films. God, keep it going. In 2009, Robeson was inducted of the New Jersey Hall of Fame. The main campus library of Rutgers University campus named Robeson as the campus center of Rutgers University Newark. Keep on going. Paul Robeson Colonial Center is on campus Rutgers University, New Brunswick. As in 1971, Black students at Penn State University devised the present of the proposal for Black culture, which they named the Paul Robeson Cultural Center. Today, the Cultural Center is permanently fixture of Penn State main campus of State College. In popular culture, Tom Robb novel Agent 6, 2012 included the character of Jesse Austin, a Black singer, public activist, and communist sympathizer, while his real activist Paul Robeson. In 1954, the Kurdish poet Abdul Goran wrote the poem of Baghdad Bo Reposing, a call for Paul Robeson. The same year, another Kurdish poet, Sapwin, also wrote a poem of him, Havard Paul Robeson, Conrad Paul Robeson, which was put to music by singer Savon Power in 1976. Black 47's album, The Home of the Brave, includes the song Paul Robeson, Born to be Free, which features quotes of Robeson as part of the song. These quotes was drawn by Robeson testimony before the House of UN American Activities and Communities in June 1956. In January 1978, James Earl Jones performed one-man show, Paul Robeson, written by Philip Hayes Dean, on Broadway. This stage drama was made into a TV movie in 1979, starring Jones and directed by Lloyd Richards. In November 2014, it was reported that film's director Steve McQueen's next film would be biography film about Paul Robeson. As of 2017, the film has not been made. In 2001, Welsh rock band Manic Street Preachers released a song titled "Let Robeson Sing" as a tribute to Robeson, which reached number 19 on the UK single charts. Now, the last is film graphic. This is films he made: Body and Soul, 1920, Carmela, 1926, Borderline, 1930, The Empress Jones, 1933, Sandals of the River, like I said, 1935, Showboat, like I said, 1936, Songs of Freedom, like I said, 1936, Big Fella, 1937, My Song Goes Forth, 1937, King Solomon Mines, 1937, Jericho, Dark Sands, 1937, The Proud Valley, 1940, Native Land, 1942, Tales of Manhattan, 1940, and The Last Songs of River, 1954. Now, despite how people they feel about this great human being, Paul Robeson, he was a great man. Now, despite how maybe some of us how we feel about him, he stuck up for us, and he did not play. He did not play for this racist politics, as America and the rest of the world have put on it. And whatever language that he learned, he made sure to put our heritage on it. Plus, he's one of the early ones as part of the Harlem Renaissance. He traveled around the world. He was an All-American of all sports he played in. Plus, he played in Black NFL in Akron, Ohio. Like I said, the same town that LeBron James born and raised in. But you see, the NFL don't want to say that. So he was a great man, and still is, and he needs to be respected. He needs to be very respected. Like I said, one of my heroes. He was not afraid to be different. But at the same time, he was not afraid to fight for our rights. And a lot of people could say all they want about Paul Robeson, but I respect him. And maybe he take controversial ideologies, but he was his own man. He was his own man. And even though his wife was saying derogatory things about him, she was still with him. But he was his own man. Now, later years, he got sick and stuff like that. And you got to understand, when you have the whole world be against you for decades, by that time, he was resilient. And we should know what the CIA was capable of. And I really think he had every right to feel that way. Because they was after him for years. They was after him for years. So thanks for sharing with me. Breakfast with JT, fam, and some of our great history part 2. We're gonna go through the chat. Doug, thanks for coming. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Sheila, my sister, always love for you. Thanks for coming. My brother, thank you so much for your constant support. The voice for our community. Sheila Wilder, I got you. I said it was something. My sister Soul Academy, thank you so much for coming, for your constant support. Yeah, and then, oh yeah, I gotta drop this too. The same school that She Stay Sleep come from, I went to the same school, and it was Alexander Hamilton. They switched to Paul Robeson, I believe back in, I believe in 85. After I left, that's when they switched to Paul Robeson. But that's the same high school I went. So what happened was I got transferred and I went to Eli Whitney. Drop a little stuff on y'all. Welcome, thank you, thanks for coming, Jalen. Thank you so much. Yeah, please hit the like button. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you the mods. Get that fool out. Your little simply lemonade, little lemon boy. Always starting. But you know what, fam? I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna keep it going. Yeah, bye garage boy. Bye little salsa McMuffin, unleaded hamburger boy. But enough of that. Oh yeah, Victor Lyons, thanks for coming. Very much appreciate. Now I'm going to end this. I'm gonna come with some maybe another hour and a half or 2 or 3. I got another one. Well, thank you so much for joining Breakfast with JT, fam, and some of our great history, part 2. I want to thank you so much. And I will be back. So stay tuned. I got a good one too coming. I got a few, but I gotta pick one. I don't know, pick 1 or 2. I don't know. But thanks for coming. Breakfast with JT, fam, and some of our great history, part 2. I will come back later. So stay tuned, be safe, and I am Ghost.